The first speaker is going to be Eric Stackpole. Please welcome him to the stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, there are a lot of issues brought up with technology and new capabilities. Since we started working with technologies that perhaps can bring danger but also bring a lot of good, we've had these dilemmas. Starting with, I don't know, figuring out how to harness fire. This probably has been an issue. In general, I would say that the things that people can create, whether or not they're capable of doing bad things, generally having more capability is something that gives you a lot of good opportunities. So that was a great introduction. OpenROV is something that we created. It's a tool just like any of those things. And I think it can allow people to do extraordinary things. And I wanted to start by, let's see, spacebar. I wanted to start by just talking about who we are and what we do, and kind of the big idea behind how OpenROV works compared to other technologies. We're part of the make movement, I'd say. What we've done is we've figured out how to make this little telerobotic vehicle. It sends live video from wherever it is underwater up to the surface on a computer. And you can control it just like playing a video game. And there are amazing things. We're building using off-the-shelf parts, and there are amazing things that people can build just by tinkering, and this is one of them. Maker Faire is probably the best example of the make movement. You go to a Maker Faire, you'll understand it. There are people who are building things not because they need them for a specific task necessarily, but because they think they're interesting, from Legos to people building full-size mousetrap things. If you dream of it, you can create it, even if that's cupcakes that are driven by Santa Claus down the street. It doesn't really matter. But the point is that people can create amazing things. This is a fusion reactor, a nuclear fusion reactor someone built in their garage. And I started thinking about what is it that really motivates us when you look at a Mars rover or lander touching down. People are amazed by that. The entire crowd of onlookers is waiting moment by moment to see the emotional side of what that technology has done, what the creation has done. In Times Square, when MSL touched down, there were tons of people watching big monitors at our own NASA Ames Research Center. There were huge amounts of people watching this landing. They really cared about what would happen. What are the limits of human innovation? And it wasn't because they were interested in the pH level of the soil or something. It was because they wanted to explore. It shouldn't take a research grant to do exploration. It should take curiosity. And that's what we're all about. This is an ROV control system on a very big ship for a very big ROV. And how can we have those mission control moments where we're really exploring, we're using this robot as a tool to see things we've never been able to see before? Can we go into alien worlds? Underwater, I think, is just like space, except for it's cooler because you're going to see weird species there. You're not just floating in this infinite abyss. There's tons of stuff that you wouldn't believe. These things really exist. And we can go down there and poke them with sticks. So everyone has some motivating story, and I have to tell the brief bit about what OpenROV is all about. We heard about this story that of stolen gold during the 1800s that was, they ditched the gold because these robbers had taken it all, and they're on the run, and it's weighing them down, and they hid it in a cave, so the story went, in Northern California, and no one's been able to find it since. The story goes that the cave was filled with water at the back of it, in this bottomless, water-filled pit. They presume the gold was thrown down there, and no one has been able to see it since. So we went and we looked around, and we found this cave, and sure enough, there was this puddle of water, just like in the story. And that was the impetus for building this little tool, this robot. How do we explore that? So we came up with this very simple kind of thing using a laser cutter. We could build this. We're using all off-the-shelf parts. And that was kind of the beginning. I met my co-founder, David Lang, at that point, and we started kind of doing this. We had no idea what we were doing. And so we asked the internet for help. And that was really what started getting us to take off. We crowdsourced this. Our project's completely open source and open hardware. That means you can download all the design files, the bill of materials, all of that on our website for free. And by doing that, we hope everyone is smarter than anyone. We'll be able to create something that's really great. And so the idea evolved, and we started creating this vehicle. It's got 2 thrusters in the back that move it forward and backward, and a vertical one. It can go to 100-meter depth. If you're a computer nerd or an electronics nerd like I am, this is kind of an architecture of how it works. And it's got great capabilities. I'm briefing through all these because I have some video I want to show you guys at the end. But what we're about is cleverly misusing off-the-shelf parts. So this is an adapter that you plug into your wall to talk Ethernet through your power line, but we're using it as our communication for the tether, so we have a very small tether. We use a motor that you use on an RC airplane. It turns out it works great in water, and if it does get ruined, it's $10 to replace. Our camera is a USB webcam. So like I said before, we're all about cleverly misusing off-the-shelf parts. So we decided to create a kit because it turned out there were a lot of people who wanted to be a part of this. There was this story that came out about when we went back to the cave to explore it, and it ended up getting us really well known. We got a story in the New York Times, and it kind of blew up. So suddenly there was this demand. We decided to launch on Kickstarter selling these kits with the goal of raising $20,000 to help us start getting these into the hands of more people. We're not trying to make a huge amount of money. What we're trying to do is make it so as many people can have the same kit we have to develop with. And yeah, I mean, when we went back to that cave and we explored it with the ROV, it was just amazing. It was really cool to be able to create something that would allow you to see something you've never seen before. All right, well, we didn't find the gold, but we're still working on it. So we launched our Kickstarter project, and in 2.5 hours, we reached our goal, and it kept on going. It was huge. We never would have expected that this many people wanted to be a part of the project. The thing that we're really excited about is not this number. It's this number. That's 484 people who want to be involved with this thing that we're developing. I mean, we weren't selling the kits for that much margin, but getting all of them out to that many people meant that now we have this huge research and development staff, basically. And people are doing it because they're interested. And we realized, OK, now we have to make this whole manufacturing process in my garage. And I was leaving on a trip around then. We eventually got it done. We sent ROVs out there, and now they're everywhere. We've done several batches since. We serialize each ROV, and we're now over 1,000. At this point, this little thing that started out of a garage, we're probably the highest volume ROV manufacturer in the world. And that's great, because it means that all of these places on the world can now be seen using these robots. And the people are amazing. I mean, our community, this is Dominic. He's in Australia. He's using ROVs to kind of supplement scuba diving. There's this girl, Jessica, in New York, who's looking for lake monsters. I kid you not, lake monsters in New York. There's Peter in Norway, who's doing all this crazy stuff. I think that's a light he has above his ROV. There's Brian. He's one of our main software developers, and his family, and they're using ROVs. I mean, it's just, the community has really grown, and it's being able to do these things together, and this collaboration of exploration. It's democratizing exploration. That's what really motivates us. And now the ROV's been able to do some really great things. This is diving in the Aquarius undersea base in Florida, flying with scuba divers. Colin Ho, who's actually in the audience here, went to these cenotes in the Yucatan of Mexico, and we were exploring them with the ROV. I went to Antarctica with one. Penguins love robots, by the way, just putting that out there. So we've flown an ROV under the ice. And it's suddenly a new realm of exploration. It's just, it doesn't require this huge infrastructure. This is, 3 ROVs, 2 guys, and it's all checked luggage. We could go anywhere in the world and see places that have never been seen. I mean, 100 meters is deeper than most scuba divers go. And we're going all these activities. This is in Tahoe earlier last summer. We're actually leaving. I've been rushing today. We're leaving today to go back to Tahoe. We're going to explore a sunken steamship that hardly anyone has seen. It's a 170-foot-long steamship at the bottom of Lake Tahoe. And we're doing this with 14 people from our community. We rented a huge cabin. We have like this wireless bridge. We're going to go out and deploy these robots. I mean, this is a community of people interested in exploring. We can do it because of the technology. There's a photo from the ROV under the ice in Antarctica, a video feed from kind of a very early version of the cockpit we had, looking at some algae there. So the future is what really excites me. People are going to develop new interfaces for how the cockpit can look better. We have, we were thinking of like, what if you had those Oculus Rifts, right? And you could have like a spherical video. So the ROV is always looking in every direction all at once. And you could have a classroom of students, looking in each direction wherever they want. And let's have the teacher in the front. Let's call her Miss Frizzle, like in the Magic School Bus, if you remember that. She could be piloting an ROV via internet somewhere else in the world, flying through some underwater canyon, and a student could say, oh, what's that to the left? And everyone looks over to the left, and if it's really interesting, she could pilot the ROV over there. I mean, it really would be like the Magic School Bus. There's infinite possibilities, and this is just the beginning. So that, in a nutshell, is what we're all about and where we're trying to go. I have a few videos, but I don't know if I have enough time to show them just yet. But yeah, let's do that. So so that's about that. Now let me just minimize this, and then minimize that, and then oh, of course it's the weird size when it's on my computer. You know, oh yeah, there it is. Okay, good. That's nerve-wracking. So this is us in Mexico. Now we're in Lake Tahoe, flying 2 ROVs together. This is the shipwreck. We went inside of the shipwreck, and we were able to look around. I mean, I've never seen this ship in person, but I've now been able to explore inside of it. Now, the one I wanted to talk about, or to show, oh, someone in our community, this is Colin looking at some pottery. Someone in our community found this video that Colin took and added a computer vision program that tells you how far distant things are away based on the apparent separation of the scaling lasers. We didn't come up with that. It's just someone in our community. And then finally, closing to like how I was introduced, what happens if you are in an environment where there's a lot of creatures? You know, are you scaring the fish? That's a major concern. Well, if there's no better example, I can't think of any better example than this. So this is a puffer fish, and I think it's a skate. And we're flying in Mexico. This is a night dive. We're in about 20 meters of water. And so I'd heard that puffer fish puff up if you intimidate them, if you scare them. And OK, maybe it was a little bit irresponsible where this guy's here. And I figured, OK, well, I should verify that for science purposes, and just follow them around and see if he gets intimidated enough to puff up. You know, I've done this scuba diving a few times and stuff. But we follow him for about 3 minutes, and I'm just kind of getting close. I'm getting closer. At some point, I get kind of impatient. I actually try like nudging him to see. And he scurries off, but he never puffs up. He acts completely different than how he would have acted if I was a scuba diver. His behavior is different. And my theory is that the ROV is far too small and cute to be intimidating. So anyway, there's that food for thought. Thank you guys very much.